Clover cheese is for those who love life, where everything falls into place and melts away our cares, adding joy and stretching our imagination. Clover, for the love of cheese.
Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back to the show. And Chef Dumi, are you ready?
I'm ready, my darling.
All right, then. Now, we're so inspired when we learned all about root veg that we could not stop thinking about the versatile ways in which we can use them. This led to the pairing of the elite combination of roast beetroot hummus and clover cheese straws for that elite quality, elite taste, and elite texture. The perfect dip.
Exactly, Palisa. You know, if there's anything that I learned from Chef Alistair, is the fact that you can take one ingredient, prepare it in a couple of different ways, and it feels like you're eating something so amazing.
If South Africa wants to join us, what do they need to whip this up?
Well, for this particular recipe, we've added a couple of different variations. So for the hummus that you've got over there, we've got some chickpeas, tahini, some oil, and we've got some lemon juice, lemons that we're going to juice. And then you've also got some water because we also want to make sure that we blend it nicely and nice and smooth. If there's one thing I saw from his hummus, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to keep blending. If you're making hummus, blend it down. And then for the cheese sticks that we're making, the cheese straws, the one thing I love about this recipe is you can add whatever ingredients you've got at home. And what we've got in our fridge and our pantry, we've got some rocket, some sun-dried tomatoes, some figs, we've got some honey, some whole grain mustard. We've also got some butter and some rosemary. Salt and pepper always necessary because you want to season. To start your beetroot hummus, you're going to need some beetroot, Mama. And as you can see, I made sure that there's a bounty full of veggies for us here. So you know, when we talk root vegetable, there's a lot.
Talk about a bundle of joy. This is a bundle of joy.
So I've already started here mixing the ingredients that we're going to use for our cheese straws. I've got in this little bowl here some honey and some of that whole grain mustard. And into this, I'm going to plop in some soft butter. The reason it's soft is you want to make it spreadable when you put it onto the puff pastry that we're going to put in there.
The beetroot hummus. How do I start?
Well, to start off, you would need to take the leaves off, keep the tops on. While you're doing that, you're going to drizzle them with some of the olive oil that you've got over there, go into the oven, and then we're going to bake that at 100, let's make it 200 to be safe, because we want to make sure that that skin gets also nice and cooked. Because the other thing that Chef Alistair was talking about is the fact that you eat the entire beetroot. Obviously, make sure it's washed cleanly and all that sand is gone. From the entire beetroot, we didn't have to peel anything off. We ate it as it was. May I ask you to please take out some puff pastry and some of those cheeses for us, because we're using clover cheese today, and we're using a selection of the cheeses. We've got the feta over there, we've got tussers and some cheddar, and I'm going to grate up the tussers and the cheddar, and then crumble up some of the feta. So the whole idea is if you don't have one, you can use the other. If you don't have all of them, go to the shop and get you some.
And here, what's the next step? I've already taken the leaves off of my beetroot, but I've made sure, as chef's orders, they'd say doctor's orders, I've kept the heads onto the beetroot.
Correct. So now you can just top some of it, drizzle some oil. You've got a tray over there on your right. Put them on the tray, drizzle them with some oil, and then they go into the oven to bake nicely, nice and slow. Yes, the temperature's high, but that's because we also want to make sure we cook down the skin.
As whole as they are?
As whole as they are, Mama. Wow. So that's the whole idea. But, you know, if there's one thing I love about the Boshendal farm is their sustainability. They've got a concept about regenerative practices when it comes to farming.
Now when it comes to this delicious chickpea hummus.
Right. So to start off, because we're using a jug type of a blender, what you can do is that get in with the dry ingredients or the harder ingredients at the bottom. So you'll start with your chickpeas, not all of them. Let's start with just a little bit of those, because we also want the beetroot flavor to pop. You know, you want it to stand out.
How's that?
That is perfect, correct. And we've got some beetroot that we've been roasting a little earlier. I left it just to cool down a little bit. I don't know if you want to check it in the oven.
Definitely.
It's been roasting a bit. And I'm just chopping up some of my rosemary over here. And like I mentioned, you can use any flavors. I've chosen rosemary because it goes very well as a hearty herb that gets cooked very nicely. Because we're making cheese straws, keep it simple. You want that cheese to melt nicely and have that golden color on it, right? Yeah. But you also want to be able to showcase and highlight whatever other flavors you're matching it with. So in this instance, I'm matching the amazing clover cheese that is full of calcium and the feta cheeses. I mean, I've got a selection here. That's the other thing that I love about Clover is that they give you the options. Yeah. If you're not a fan of cheddar, you can go with tussers. If you're not a fan of tussers, you can go with cheddar. cheddar. And all of these are great, whether you're using them in the cheese straws like we're doing now, or even if you want to perhaps use them to top it, like in sandwiches, or if you want to use it, it's all up to you. You can do whatever you prefer. So, Palesa, all I'm doing now is I'm going to brush just a little bit, half of my cheese, half of my puff pastry with this mixture that I made here.
On my side, when it comes to the beetroot hummus, again, using that celebration of root vegetables, I've decided to do a little bit of an equal mix because I also know beetroot can be very overwhelming. So I've added a little less beetroot than I did chickpeas. Is that okay?
That's okay. If you want to, you can go more beetroot. I would probably do that.
Okay, let's add more then.
You can, yeah. And I know you've also added the garlic as well.
Yeah.
But should someone not want that overpowering garlic flavor, you've got the option of roasting your garlic because then it mellows it out a bit instead of having it raw, because it can be quite spicy if it's raw. So what I've also done here is I'm pressing down with the tips of my finger the cheese into the puff pastry, because what you don't want is when you're baking these cheese straws in the oven, you don't want the cheese to fall off and just end up on the pan. You want it on the cheese straws, and once we roll it out, you'll see that it actually gets incorporated nicely into these ingredients we've got here. And then to add more flavor, I've got some sun-dried tomatoes. I've got those figs that I made earlier. So remember we had the honey mustard mixture over here with the tussers that I've added. Because we've got already the sweetness there, I'm not going to add the figs on that side because we don't want it overly sweet.
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm just going to add the figs here.
Lemon juice is in. I got quite a bit of lemon juice. I'm very proud of myself.
Well,
can I add my water now?
You
and
can.
Do I add a little bit of olive oil as well?
You can, because the whole idea is that you want that flavor from the olive oil as well. Not too much. If you were to use a flavor, perhaps let's say extra virgin olive oil, that very, very earthy flavor, that would be perfect because it would stand out. I'm just going to quickly wash my hands, Bale.
Just going to put a little bit in there. And Tumi, I also love the fact that you've brought up that we can still use these leaves, essentially, for a salad at the end. And that's also why I left the lemon. Because
Correct.
we can also add this lemon into any kind of vinaigrette. So you know what? Nothing is going to waste.
Correct.
Well
Well
otherwise,
done,
we're ready to go.
All right, so I'm going to start cutting up my cheese straws here. So in essence, all these ingredients I've got here, that is the tahini.
Okay.
There is a hummus is not a hummus without tahini.
So let me add that before Tumi cancels me, okay?
I could never cancel you, Palesa. The one thing I love about the Afternoon Express kitchen is that we make every recipe accessible. We make it easy for anyone that wants to replicate it. So if you do forget something, don't worry. You can always use it at another time. You know, you don't have to stress yourself.
Love that. Let's get whipping.
All right. Ooh, where's it at?
There we go. And then blitz one more time because you spoke about smoothness, ne?
Palesa, I don't want Chef Alistair and the people from Washington
to judge you.
I don't want them to look back and think this is not what we taught this girl. This is not what we were talking about. We wanted smoothness.
Wow. Right. I think that's safe. I think Chef will be proud.
Palesa, I don't know if you saw this trick that I've got here. Because puff pastry comes in its paper, in its own plastic wrapping, I don't want to make a mess on my table. So I've done all the major work that I needed to on the actual plastic itself. And then after I've twisted my cheese straws, then I put them onto our tray. That way, I get to, one, minimize the mess in the kitchen. Two, I also get to just throw it in the bin. But like we said, Palesa, we're trying to make sure we keep the planet healthy and happy. So if there is a way that you can recycle this or something like that, please contact people that know what to do with it. We don't want to just, endanger our planet. We don't want to make it hard for the little ones that are coming up after us.
Absolutely. It's all about sustainability. And voila, I am done. I hope I made you proud, girl, because I did promise a perfect dip for these delicious cheese straws that you're creating. So here we go.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Hummus.
It looks amazing, Palesa. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to plop these into the oven. It is important to always brush your cheese straws with some egg mixture on top. Some people even use butter or milk. So if you don't have eggs in abundance like we do over here in the Afternoon Express kitchen, then it's fine. You can always just use milk, or some oil is also fine. But I always think that the eggs make such a huge difference with that gloss, you know?
They really do.
Perfect. So this goes into the oven to bake. All I'm going to do, Palesa, is I want you to see exactly this amazing cheese straws that we made. And they come out looking amazing.
Well, golden brown to perfection.
Golden brown to perfection, Palesa. And this is all we've done. We've worked extra hard to make sure this deliciousness of the cheese straws works so well together with our hummus. I'm sorry, Pale, I just
have a
want to
taste.
make sure you did the right thing.
Well, while Stumi eats, let's keep it going. Thank you so much, girl. That first recipe was simple, quick, easy, and something that everyone can get involved with.